Is Larys the new Varys? Is Harwin a real contender for Rhaenyra's hand? As House of the Dragon speeds ahead, here are a few things you may have missed in Episode 3. As Daemon, Corlys, and their forces are dealing with the crab feeder, the landed gentry of King's Landing discuss the matter, first over a pre-journey pig roast at the castle, then in the Kingswood before the hunt as camp is assembling. The ladies of some of the Seven Kingdoms' great houses are gathered in the main tent, and when Rhaenyra joins them mid-conversation, they're gossiping about someone named Lady Johanna Swann, who was abducted from one of the ships sailing through the Stepstones.
What will happen to Lady Johanna?
She's to be sold to a pillow house in the Free Cities, if you believe the rumors.
To those unfamiliar with the book House of the Dragon is based on, this might seem like filler dialogue. However, Lady Johanna Swann is specifically mentioned in Fire and Blood. In the text, the people of the Seven Kingdoms become increasingly perturbed by the Triarchy's occupation of the Stepstones, because the crab feeder isn't just stealing their goods and coins, he's human trafficking their women and children into the pleasure houses. In Lady Johanna's case, her cheap uncle, the Lord of Stonehelm, refused to pay their tolls, so they took his niece instead. Martin writes, Johanna rose to become the celebrated courtesan known as the Black Swan, and ruler of least in all but name. Fire and Blood doesn't elaborate on that rise, as it doesn't tie back into the central Targaryen-heavy narrative. Besides the Targaryens, Velaryons, and Hightowers, palace intrigue in House of the Dragon involves some other high-ranking families, with which Game of Thrones fans will already be familiar, the Lannisters and the Strongs. Sir Tyland Lannister is serving as Master of Ships in Corlys's absence, while his twin Sir Jason Lannister occupies Casterly Rock and wants Rhaenyra's hand in marriage. Lord Lionel Strong is currently the ruler of Harrenhal, as well as the King's Master of Laws. His two sons, Harwin and Larys, make brief appearances in Episode 3. More on Harwin in a moment. But Larys is a young man who joins the ladies after he self-deprecatingly quips that the gods have not made him for hunting. The camera focuses on the odd boot he wears around his malformed foot. In Fire and Blood, Larys is sometimes referred to as Clubfoot. He walks with a limp and is regarded as a quiet man whose intentions are difficult to decipher. Larys doesn't sit with the ladies only to excuse himself from strenuous activity. He's a Varys-like character with a knack for disappearing into the background and picking up on valuable information. Episode 3 asks a pair of deeply related questions. Will King Viserys decide to name Aegon II his heir instead of Rhaenyra? And who will the princess marry? Based on his comments to his daughter in the carriage and on the look on his face as Sir Jason Lannister looks at his daughter, Viserys seems to have made an informal agreement prior to the hunt. But besides the fact that Jason is doing a terrible job of wooing the princess and schmoozing the king, he's got competition. Viserys complains that he's drowning in marriage offers. Thus far, the show has given Rhaenyra 6 possible suitors. Besides Jason, who blows his chances with his treasonous assumptions, Otto Hightower suggests 2-year-old Aegon II, which even the king thinks is gross. Meanwhile, Lionel Strong argues that Laenor Velaryon is the wisest choice. But it's obvious that Rhaenyra prefers the company of Sir Criston Cole. She's creating opportunities to be alone with him, and the princess and her sworn protector openly flirt with each other, in a very Game of Thrones kind of way.
Do you want me to kill him?
Audiences may have also picked up on some romantic tension between Rhaenyra and her uncle Daemon, and the ladies at court are aware of their mutual affection too. But there's one more player in the game for Rhaenyra's heart. When Lionel Strong asks if the king wishes to hear his opinion, Viserys guesses he's about to propose his eldest son, Harwin, the strongest knight in the Seven Kingdoms. Harwin is the man who caught the brown stag, and the man with whom Rhaenyra exchanges a glance as he processes its meat. Sir Otto Hightower succeeds in elevating his daughter to the position of queen, but now he's determined to elevate his grandson to the Iron Throne. Though he's close enough to Viserys to know the king hasn't altered the succession, the Hand is working every angle to get what he wants. He's scheming with the lords of powerful houses. He's pressing Queen Alicent to, in his words, lead her husband to reason. He tries to make a match between Rhaenyra and Aegon II as a failsafe. And with his counsel, he attempts to influence Viserys without overstepping boundaries. When a white stag is spotted in the Kingswood, Otto sets the man after it and tells Viserys that the sighting is a regal portent. Throughout the episode, he and those loyal to him and Queen Alicent push the idea that should they catch and kill the king of the forest, it's surely a sign that the gods favor Aegon II.
Before the dragons ruled over Westeros, White Hart was the symbol of royalty in these lands.
Tellingly, the shrewd Otto Hightower never explicitly claims that the stag's appearance means the gods want little Aegon to rule instead of Rhaenyra. He only implies as much through flattery and superstition, both of which are vulnerabilities of the king. But the animal they are tracking turns out to be a brown stag, which Viserys struggles to put out of its misery, so Otto's plan backfires. Meanwhile, Rhaenyra and Criston happen upon the white stag, whom she chooses to let live without hesitation. The war for the Stepstones takes place over a few pages in Fire and Blood, and is begun and resolved in one episode of House of the Dragon. But, like the book, its effects are sure to ripple throughout the rest of the story, though precisely how might be a significant departure. In print, King Viserys actually approves of Daemon's private war, because it's keeping him busy and away from the real business of governing at King's Landing. According to Martin, Daemon and Corlys had little difficulty assembling an army, and won many victories during the first 2 years of the conflict, with Daemon's dragon and Corlys's vast fleet of ships. Daemon easily dispatches the crab feeder when they meet by decapitating him with his sword, Dark Sister. In the show, Daemon and Corlys have their backs against the wall. The rogue prince is angry when a messenger arrives with news that the king is sending backup. Though they need the help, he doesn't want it, as this was supposed to be his show of strength to contrast his reputation with that of his weak brother. In another change from the book, Laenor is also present, as is his dragon Seasmoke. But one of the most noticeable differences is the appearance of the crab feeder, who isn't described outside of his penchant for sex slavery and crustacean-induced torture. House of the Dragon has given him a severe case of grayscale, which he hides behind a broken mask of the Sons of the Harpy, a group that opposed Daenerys' rule in Game of Thrones. So not only has Daemon been bailed out, he's also potentially been exposed to this disfiguring and often fatal illness.